Hey folks, Martin here from Mobility Direct. Hope you're all keeping well. In this video, I'm going to be talking about 3 important questions to ask before buying a mobility scooter. Asking these questions will help narrow down your search in terms of which scooter to go for, and also help ensure that you choose the right mobility scooter for your needs and requirements. Okay, so one of the first things that you need to kind of think about and consider is, do you need a mobility scooter that will easily disassemble and something that you can travel with? For a lot of people, this is important. It is something that they want. Most people will be traveling with their mobility scooters, at least to some degree. It might be on a weekly basis to a shopping centre or a park, or it might be just once or twice a year, like a weekend away or a trip, whatever it is. So for most people, they do want that functionality and option to be able to do that. So if that's important to you, then I would recommend focusing your search on the small travel mobility scooters. For the most part, they will all easily disassemble and they're suitable for traveling with. If you take the Pride range that we sell, they typically break down into 4 parts and easily break down as well, and they will fit in a standard car boot. On top of that, they're also quite compact, so they're ideal for traveling with. The batteries are airline safe if you're feeling adventurous, and size-wise they're quite light and compact. They don't take up too much room. So for example, we would have customers that use them on the likes of the Lewis or the Dart, the trains, buses, things like that. So they're ideal for traveling with, and as I said, ideal for disassembling for the car boot. So I suppose the larger mid-size and the large category 3 scooters are too big for the most part. Some of them do break down, but really they're not really practical. They're not designed to be easily disassembled, and they're not designed for traveling with, not like the small travel scooters are. So, that's just something to think about, and if that's something that's important to you, then I would recommend just focusing on the small travel mobility scooters. Another important question that you need to ask and think about is, how are you going to store your mobility scooter? So this one can cause issues for some people. The ideal solution, I suppose, or scenario is having a shed or a garage that you can just drive the scooter in and out of as needed. That's the ideal solution, but not everybody's going to have that option. If you do, great, but as I said, a lot of people might not have it. So if, for example, you're living in a mid-terrace house, or you just don't have a side or rear entrance, then your only option may be to bring the scooter in through the front door. Now, this isn't a huge problem. We have a lot of customers that do this, but as most homes will have steps at the front door, you may need to look at getting a ramp put in at the front so that you can drive the scooter in and out of. Usually the ramp is either made of wood or concrete is usually the better kind of longer term solution. So it's just something that you're going to have to consider. If, for example, you do have a side entrance or a rear entrance, but you don't have, say, the space in a shed or garage for the scooter, then you may need to look at some sort of storage solution. So in this example here, something like this, that the scooter can be driven in and out as needed. It's kept safe, it's kept dry, and it's away from the elements. Another option here is these storage sheds that you can pick up in the likes of Woodies. They're okay. Some of our customers use them. They work okay in some circumstances. The main problem with something like this is that you can't actually drive the scooter in fully. You can reverse in or drive in to a certain degree, but then you would need assistance lifting one end of the scooter in, so it's not going to work for a lot of people. But as I said, in certain circumstances, it might work. I mean, they are relatively inexpensive. I think they're in around the 140, 150 mark. They'll keep the scooter safe. They'll keep it dry. You can put a padlock on it. So, it's okay. It works for some people. It's not ideal, but it might work in your situation. What I would say is that when you're thinking about this, just ensure that you consider that the scooter needs to be kept dry, safe, and ideally close to an electrical socket so you can recharge the batteries. Just on that side of things with recharging the batteries, one of the nice things with the smaller mobility scooters is that the battery pack is detachable. So you can actually bring the battery pack inside and recharge separately. You don't have that option with the mid-size and the large mobility scooters, as they'll have to be charged where the scooter is located. So it's just something to consider. So for example, with the small scooters, you could have the scooter in a shed, but maybe the shed doesn't have electricity, or you might have the scooter in a car boot. In both those situations, the battery pack can be brought in and recharged separately. So it's a nice little advantage that it would have over the larger scooters. So it's just something to bear in mind. What also needs to be asked and considered is, where and how are you going to use your mobility scooter? As in what type of distances will you be doing, what type of terrain will you be driving the scooter on? If you take one of our small scooters there, the Pride Apex Lite, as standard they come with quite small batteries. The range on them is in around the 5 to 8 kilometers on a full charge. Now for some people, that might be plenty, but for a lot of people that's not going to be enough. So it's important to think about that so that we can recommend a battery size that's going to suit the type of distances you intend on traveling with the scooter. So as great as the small travel mobility scooters are, they do have their limitations, and a lot of the limitations are really a result of the small wheels. So, I mentioned footpaths there. If you're going to be using these small scooters on footpaths, you will need to ensure that the footpaths have the dips in them so that you can cross the road safely. The small wheels on these scooters, can't handle much of a step. They can handle maybe like an inch and a half, but really to do it safely, you'll need to ensure that the footpaths have the dip. So that's something that you will need to consider and think about. Also, again, because the small wheel size, these type of scooters aren't very good if there's a lot of gravel. So if you intend on using a scooter on a lot of gravel, then this is something that you will need to bear in mind. Okay, so that's it from me. It's worth considering those few questions and points. You don't have to have all the answers or spend too much time thinking about it and trying to cover everything, but I suppose it's just about giving it some thought, and then the more information you can give us, then the better placed we are to offer the right solution for you, which is essentially what we're trying to achieve. If you have any questions on this or would like to arrange a visit to the showroom, then please get in touch. My contact details are below. If you like these type of videos, then please click subscribe, and I'll talk to you all again. All the best.